shallow, 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 shallow. But you were bright white gold. With you by my side, I'm not worried. I think we'll be able to find ourselves again. Blank expressions, empty words. Nothing can keep me away from you. I think I will be holding on to the one thing that I know is stronger. Love is blind and no one told us. Platinum seems so shallow, 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 shallow. But you were bright white gold.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. We are beyond excited and proud to bring you the debut of a brand new series here to ESPN, the United Sim Racing Association Cup Series, presented, tonight's race at least, presented by the Great Lakes Brewing Company. Hello, everybody. My name is Frank Marchese, and again, beyond excited to bring you Season 5 for the USRA Cup Series, but Season 1 for us. Alongside me, as he will be all season long, my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso. Tony, really amped up for tonight.
The pipes are roaring. I love it. We're in the Irish Hills of Michigan, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Brooklyn. I love this place.
And we've seen a couple of great races here recently. The MPI Cup Series put up a great race here. That was their debut as well on the network. We saw the Western States League put a great race on here recently. And these guys, it's another big field, another 32-car field. Great to have a huge field for the start of a brand new season.
Absolutely. And, to open it up at the house that Penske built, this track was it is arguably the perfect racetrack in the United States as far as ovals go. 3 lanes all day long. You can put the car wherever you want to put it, and you can get the drafting. It's just perfect. Penske's guys did this perfectly when they designed this place.
And we're going to see these guys put what they can do on this perfectly designed racetrack on display here very soon. But right now, we're about to get into the qualifying session. Let's just take a look at the race info here really quick. The Michigan International Speedway, of course, in Brooklyn, Michigan, Tony, as you mentioned. It's kind of a cool day, 78 degrees, not that bad. Should be a lot of fun, fast racing here tonight.
The track temperature, though, at the end of practice, it was already up to 110 degrees, but with the sun beating down on the track like it is, look for the cars to be greasy early. And then, you've got a 6-mile-an-hour headwind that these guys are going to be facing going down the back straightaway. That's going to be difficult to overcome, especially if you're the lead dog in a drafting group. and they are doing group qualifying tonight.
I was just about to mention that. That is something we're not used to seeing as far as Cup Series and Oval Series racing goes. We're not used to seeing this open qualifying. It's going to be a 5-minute open qualifying session. Guys are working their way on track right now. At the bottom of the screen here, we are going to have our qualifying ticker up once guys start putting in lap times, just so you can see where some of these guys are in relation to their laps. You're going to see a couple of, as Chase Barry there is the first one to grace the bottom of our screens. There he is in the number 11. Now, there's going to be 2 different color bars to show up there. As you see under Chase Barry, green means that is a personal best. Yellow means that is slower than their personal best. And purple, as you see under Jason Young there, that is a session best. So keep an eye out for those, as this is going to get really, really interesting when it comes with this now group qualifying.
See who knows how to play the drafting game the best. That's the one thing that Michigan is known for, and that's got to be an anomaly. There it is. That's what I was expecting. These guys are down into the 38s already. Jordan Smith going quick time so far, 38.3. I mean, that's flying. That's unbelievable.
And you can see this gaggle of cars that he is in. It's that black Caterpillar number 24 on the inside lane. See up there, 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in this qualifying session, enough to get 2, maybe 3 laps in here, as these guys, especially towards the back, they're going to be the ones really getting the benefit of these drafts. And Jordan Smith not necessarily getting the better of his last time.
No, but Alex Hoffman, look at that lap time, almost going sub 38. We didn't see anybody able to do that in the practice session, but I mean, Hoffman just blistering one, as they're 4 and 5 wide going through turn 3. Good grief.
And if this is the kind of racing we're getting in qualifying, just imagine what we're going to get during the race. As I think the 24 is noticing something with Hoffman getting the pole there. He was at the back of the line. I think Jordan Smith in the number 24 is trying to set himself up into that position.
He is, because he's got a giant wall of cars in front of him, just blasting a hole down the back straightaway, and you can see that he's a good 5 to 6 miles an hour faster than the rest of the guys in that group. The problem is can you get the car to stick and take a bite to get into turn 3? We're about to find out, as he flashes across the line and not going to improve, but Hoffman did improve, 38.05.
Kind of focusing on this group here as though everyone else is kind of in this group. I do want to say we apologize for names, because first race with us, we're probably going to get some of these names wrong here. Troy Torgerson, right now there he is in the number 98, right behind the 48. Torgerson is the fastest in the second half of the lap from the middle of the back straightaway, turn 3 and 4 up to the line.
Got something figured out for turn 3. But this track, the way you drive it, you've got to get a good run off of 2 if you're going to hope for anything on a lap, give it good or bad. But the thing is, you've got to be real careful that you hit that transition coming off of turn 2 just right, because there is a bump there and it can catch you out. We've seen that be Calamity Corner in numerous series that we've broadcast here at Michigan.
Yep. And as the session comes to an end, there you see J.P. Fitzpatrick. He is the highest running of the drivers that are on track, I believe. We are almost there. Here are the last of the cars, I believe, that are coming up for lap times. Clint Castleberry in the 0-2 leading that group. As now qualifying is officially done here for this session. And for an open 5-minute qualifying, it felt like a 5-minute race for some of these guys.
Absolutely. I mean, that's about as close to heat race action for your short track fans as we're going to see. But how about that lap by Hoffman? Good grief. Almost going sub 38. That's usually unheard of.
It certainly was a very, very good lap. Let's now go to the starting grid here for tonight's race at Michigan International Speedway for the Great Lakes Brewing Company 250. Alex Hoffman and Justin Winters will set off on row 1. Troy Torgerson and Eric Holly on row 2. Ryan Jones, JP Fitzpatrick on row 3. Chris Brown and Mike Mack on row 4. Row 5, Jordan Smith and Luke LaFaro. Row 6 will be Tommy Cannon and Steve Holmes. Pardon me, lost where my mouse was. There we go. Brian Regal and Douglas Walcott will make up row 7, and Jeff Pogo and Roy Lamons will make up row 8.
Evan Pinta and Daniel Dill are going to make up row 9. Row 10 sees Dustin Scruggs and Robert Dudley, a familiar face to the ESPN broadcast. Good to see Robert back with us. Aaron Diefler and Clint Castleberry are going to start in row 11. Row 12 sees Chase Berry and Rand Betchtel. John Leach and David Carpenter are going to roll off in row number 13, with row 14 going to Tom Ogle and Dale Elin Jr. Larry Poling and Jason Young see row 15, with row 16 going to Rhett Tucker and Jeff Chandler. Chandler did not set a time, neither did Jeff Winter, Cody Levitt, or James Leach, as they start 32nd, 34th, or 32nd, 33rd, 34th, and 35th, respectively.
Jared Hargerdorn on there as well, at least for me, being the 36th and final driver. So a full field here tonight for the Great Lakes Brewing Company 250. And Tony, why don't you tell us a little bit about our sponsor here tonight?
Well, Great Lakes Brewing Company was started in 1986. It's a brewery and brew pub in Cleveland, Ohio, the first one of its kind in the state. The Great Lakes Brewing Company has been noted as important to Cleveland's local identity as one of the initial forces behind the revival of the Ohio City neighborhood near the west side. The odds were stacked against them initially, but fortunately they surrounded themselves with a staff of passionate, knowledgeable people from the start and committed themselves to bringing sophisticated, diverse selections of craft beer to their home state. 3 decades, multiple awards, and a whole lot of stories later, Dan and Pat Conway celebrate over 3 decades of brewing exceptional beer for their adventurous and discerning customers. You can check them out at www.greatlakesbrewing.com.
And once again, that website, www.greatlakesbrewing.com. As the cars are rolling off here, getting set to begin 120 laps for this season opener, first season of United Sim Racing Association action right here on ESPN, the 5th in the history of the league. It'll be Alex Hoffman in the 25 on the inside, Justin Winters on the outside for row number 1 to begin this brand new season. Tony, let's calmly bring them down here.
Absolutely. As the field works its way through the 3-4 complex, about the only thing that's left to do is you're going to wipe the visor, you're going to pull the belts tighter one more time. In Brooklyn, Michigan, it's showtime for the United Sim Racing Association.
Alex Hoffman bringing them down slowly, and we are off and running. Race number 1 of this new season is underway, and Hoffman right now not finding it easy to get away from Justin Winters on the outside. Finally does. He's going to try to bring Torgerson with him, and will.
Winters is going to need some help on that outside lane as Hoffman drives up in front of him. and just leaves the Torgerson just out to dry. Torgerson, though, with a lot of help from Ryan Jones right now, as they've got the push on that inside lane. Torgerson to the point coming into turn number 3 and slips up in front of Hoffman. That's going to let Jones get a good run coming down to the line, leading the first lap. It's Alex Hoffman in the 98.
That's exactly, that's Troy Torgerson in the 98.
Torgerson. Sorry, Troy Torgerson in the 98. I do apologize, ladies and gentlemen.
That's exactly, again, new faces, new names. We'll
New
promise
cars.
we will get better. As Alex Hoffman goes back to the lead. That is still the 91 of Ryan Jones on the inside lane. He now has that 24 of Jordan Smith right behind him, and ducking behind him, Eric Holly in that number 8 on the inside lane, looking to try to make a move up here early.
Yeah, and these guys are going high, going low, going wherever they need to go to try to make sure that, you know, they can get into some clean air to get these cars through the corners. You can run 2, 3, and 4 wide as we saw during the qualifying session, but the idea is you really want to make sure that you know, you've got your car into position to make a move when it shows itself.
Yeah, we've got this front pack here of about 14 cars, and then beyond that, Clint Castleberry. Here he is in the 02 on the inside lane, fighting side by side with the number 49 of Robert Dudley. Those two guys have moved up quite significantly. Castleberry up 7 spots from where he started, Dudley up 6. They are leading this second group now, so we've seen 2 distinct groups already forming here in the early going.
Absolutely, and if you want somebody to lead a group, Robert Dudley is definitely the guy you want to try to be following if you want somebody to try to pull you towards the front. You know, we've seen him in many other stock car related series here on the channel, and he knows how to get it done.
Riding on board with Clint Castleberry, who currently sits behind the aforementioned Robert Dudley. Clint Castleberry sitting in the 15th position right now, as coming up behind him, not too far behind him as a matter of fact, Rhett Tucker. You'll see him flash by in the 00. He is up 14 spots from the start, running in 17th on that outside lane, just above the 74 of Roy Lemons.
Yeah, Tucker did not get the qualifying lap that he was hoping for. Definitely not showing his hand during the qualifying session. Really didn't get the draft that everybody else was able to get to set those blistering qualifying times that we saw. But he's got his teammate up there with Castleberry, and if those two get hooked up, Katie, bar the door, because I guarantee you they know how to work together already. We got one car coming out of the pits now.
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry, that was looking at something else.
Depler in the 41.
As back up front here, there's the 25, still Alex Hoffman leading. Looking a little bit different, though, as he has Jordan Smith in the 24 and Ryan Jones battling side by side with him. Also, Luke LaFaro in that number 20 on the outside lane here. He's moved up 6 spots up into the 4th position in that lightning bolt number 20.
Yeah, LaFaro is another one that I was watching during the hot lap session, and he couldn't get the toe that he needed during qualifying. But you know, these guys are minding their P's and Q's right now, and I'm glad to see it. But they've got to be real mindful of what they're doing tire wear wise, because they've only got 5 total sets. They started with 1. They've got 4 in reserve to get them through the 120 laps here. And Michigan is notorious for eating tires if you're not careful.
So you're looking at, if you wanted to split this race up about as evenly as you could, you're looking at about, 30 laps per set
Roughly.
of tires if you want to split this race up evenly. As now in second place, Jordan Smith in that number 24, putting a lot of pressure on the 25 of Alex Hoffman as they head down into turn number 3. As the top 5, there you see them right there on your screen. P6, JP Fitzpatrick in the number 77, just hanging on to that front group.
We're starting to get about a 5-car breakaway right now. as there is a gap forming between Torgerson and Fitzpatrick, about half a second, about 7 car lengths, as Fitzpatrick has Justin Winters all over him right now.
And Justin Winters, who started on the outside of the front row in that number 52. On the inside lane, Eric Holly on the outside, Mike Mack in the number 21, the other car on the inside lane. Everyone else favoring that middle to high lane, Tony.
And that has to go back to what we were talking about with the tire wear. If you run that white line in a full fendered stock car, you are going to eat the right front tire completely off the car. Running that you can see going through the corners, you see those tar marks that separate the paving. If you run in the second one, the third one, and so on, you're going to conserve that right front more than the guys that are trying to hug that yellow line. Also, you're going to be able to carry a little more speed off the corner because you don't have the suspension quite as bound up as you would be if you're right down on the line separating the apron from the racetrack.
Pass for the lead has been made as Jordan Smith gets in front of Alex Hoffman. Ryan Jones, as you saw, took a look and ended up falling off. Starting to catch back up now, Luke Lafalo, Troy Torgerson. Hopefully that's right. The top 5 again, starting to break away just a little bit, working lap 11, about to start lap 12 of 120. And a pretty solid show so far from this front pack. And as this front pack is starting to separate a little bit, here is the second pack led by Clint Castleberry starting to make a move. They were about 3 seconds behind that front group of 14 drivers. They've cut that essentially in half now.
Absolutely. I mean, they're getting in line. They're working with each other. They're working the draft as well as they can, and they're starting to make some headway. Castleberry starting to reel in Wolcott right now, who is he's the caboose of the second freight train. So call Castleberry right now the little engine that could in the O2.
And you saw just coming out of turn 2 on the wide shot how spread out and broken apart now that front group is, as we're looking at the back of it right now. Douglas Walcott, J.P. Fitzpatrick, and that is Stephen Holmes in the number 9 at the back end of this. And you can just see how spread out now as tire wear and aero push starting to come into effect now.
Yeah, the aero push is definitely going to be real, especially considering that you've got 107-degree track temperature and you're bucking a 7-mile-an-hour headwind going down the back chute here. Those are not the most ideal conditions, to really make moves happen. But with 78-degree ambient air temperature, these guys are making gobs of horsepower, so they've got to be real mindful of that. And you're going to have to feather it a little bit as, these guys are cranking off into turn 3 near 190 miles an hour.
You see the weather on the right side, right-hand portion of the screen there. That's what's being simulated right now for these drivers. Still up at the front, Jordan Smith leading the 25 of Alex Hoffman, Ryan Jones, Luke Lafaro, and Troy Torgerson. Those guys have remained pretty much the same. And boy, oh boy, that 20 of Lafaro giving Jones a little bit of a bump going into turn 1, able to save it. But that now brings Eric Holly in that number 8 and Justin Winters right up into that front group as well.
Yeah, that could have ended 8 different kinds of poorly as Torgerson kind of backed out of it because he saw what was going on in front of him. These guys are starting to get a little bit antsy. We're 15 laps in the books this time across the stripe, and you're starting to realize who's around you, what they're doing, and if you think somebody around you is holding you up, and you want the lane that they're holding you up in, you've got to use the chrome horn on them, but you've got to be careful that you don't cause the caution, because race control is not going to be happy with you should you do so.
I would not imagine so, as we've got working on lap 16 of 120. Just looking through the field right now, there's Stephen Holmes in the number 9. In the middle of Douglas Walcott and JP Fitzpatrick. Roy Lemons now in that 74, that homage to Furniture Row Racing, has gotten out in front of Clint Castleberry, who's now fallen into the middle of this group and has started to break away now, catching up to the tail end of that disbanded front group.
I dare say that if you get hung out to dry and not in the lane that everybody else is in, you're going to get freight trained. And we saw that happen to Castleberry. He was the little engine that could. Now he's, one of the tanker cars in the middle of the pack of that basically it's turning into a third group.
You see the right ahead of them, the 00 of Rhett Tucker and Thomas Ogle in the 23, battling now side by side. Coming out of turn 2. That momentum on the outside of turn 2 is certainly going to help whoever is out there. And as a matter of fact, it's really going to hurt Thomas Ogle, who not only loses the spot to Rhett Tucker, but loses it to Clint Castleberry as well.
Yeah, you've got to wait for a hole to open up so you can get back in line. You can side draft a little bit here, but you run the risk of banging someone's door, and then you bang that door too hard, you've just messed up your entire arrow for the rest of the night, because these guys don't have a spare one in their pocket. There are no quick repairs tonight.
Guys up at the front have remained the same, in the same order. The only difference is now Eric Holly is at the back of that group. Justin Winters starting to come back up, but Winters has now left that number 1 of Chris Brown in the dust, as Brown just ahead of Tommy Cannon in the 47.
And the lead.
As Alex Hoffman, Jones, a little bit of a slide, is going to be forced to back out of it. And that's another reason to not run that inside. If you've run Michigan here on the iRacing service, that inside line is not banked the same way as that second to third lane up.
No, Michigan was one of the first tracks to come out with progressive banking, and that's why you're going to see guys through the turn 1 and 2 and then turn 3 and 4, car width, 2 car widths up off that bottom groove, because that's where the banking is, that's where the speed is. Think Darlington, just bigger and faster. But that's what you got going on, and I dare say that we're getting ready to see some green flag pit stops start to happen. We're going to be 21 laps in the books this time across the stripe, and these guys only have an 80% fuel fill.
So that will shorten the fuel stint, and as we said, you're looking at about 30 laps on a tank of fuel and a set of tires if you wanted to split the race evenly. It's where you would run out on that last lap. We're looking off of the back bumper from Alex Hoffman back towards Ryan Jones, and right here in turn 1, you can see that banking. You saw the 20 change that angle just a little bit. As boy, you got a camera full of front bumper of the 91 right now. That's how close these guys are getting down this back straightaway.
We've been tried it going into turn 1 to try to take over the lead from Jordan Smith, and that bottom lane is not where you're going to be able to do it. You really have to have a head of steam and get the clear before you get to one of the corners. Other than that, it's not going to happen for you, and I believe Hoffman's about to get hung out to dry.
Huffman trying to break that draft as much as possible. And just noticed while we were on that bumper cam, thank you to Ryan Jones for supporting ESPN on the front and back end of that Ford Mustang. Very much appreciated. It's been incredible, the warm welcome that we have received from USRA. They have been so willing to help us in any way that we need to, and it's really nice to just be welcomed into a new league that we have no history with like this.
You are correct, but the thing is, you know, these guys have a history, and they have a very storied history. And as part of one of the co-founders of ESPN, I want to go on record as saying that we are very proud to have these guys in the ESPN family of leagues now.
And we most certainly are. As these guys running pretty much single file. Then off of Justin Winters, there's a nearly 4-second gap back to Tommy Cannon, and then there's racing. So Tommy Cannon in that Mission 22, number 47 is capping this little group here, and you can see that 74 of Roy Lemons. He is caught right up to this group, and he's starting to make some moves.
Absolutely, that's another one. Lehman's was not able to get the pull that he needed during qualifying. But the fact is, he's showing that he knows how to work the draft if he can get some drafting help. And he's brought that entire pack that he was working with him. And these guys are flat getting it in that second pack right now.
You were right. It is Lehman's. Again, we are going to mess up some names here for the first couple weeks. As there you see the 49 of Robert Dudley trying to get to that inside of Lehman's. Lehman's able to make the move stick going into one, and you can just see how far away that front pack has gotten now. Just over 4 seconds the difference between the back end of Justin Winters and the front end of Tommy Cannon. And these guys, again, they are getting at it and putting on a fantastic show. As you see Rhett Tucker in that 00 trying to get to the outside of Robert Dudley.
We talk about the time gap. To give you guys an example here, it's almost the entire distance of the back straightaway that front group has over the second pack. Almost 5 seconds to the good now. And, these guys are battling with each other because they all want to be that guy that is able to bring this group forward. Unfortunately, with all the battling going on, they're losing time right now because they're not working the draft the way that they need to. Get in line, push each other, and help each other get up there. So the only thing they can really hope for right now is that dreaded word that I'm not going to speak at this point.
That black and purple car that you see there with Kill Crew on the side of it, that is the number 77 of J.P. Fitzpatrick. As Dudley now going to make it 3 wide to the inside, coming out of turn 2. There's the 29 of Randy Backdell hanging on to it on the outside lane. Still Dudley on the inside. He's gotten the move on Fitzpatrick done, and now here comes the 16 of Evan Pienta on the outside, and Dudley's coming into the pits.
28 laps in, he's going to be the first one to get some fresh tires and a can of Go Fast.
Sorry, there was a connection issue. As now we got a battle for the lead here as Alex Hoffman on the inside of the 24 of Jordan Smith trying to make a pass for the lead. Also a battle for 4th place brewing just behind that. It's Ryan Jones and Troy Torgerson in the 98 and 91 battling for 4th. Hoffman back to the lead. As Hoffman sails it into turn 1. It's the first time in about a dozen laps or so that he has not been in the lead. So a little bit of shuffling here in this first pack heading into the pits. I think we might be having an issue here with Tony's microphone. Do apologize for that.
No, sir, we were having it on your end.
I do apologize. I haven't been able to hear you. So
I've been talking. You've been roboting on my end, sir.
Oh, I do apologize for that, and hopefully that works itself out. Because everything I have up right now, I can't necessarily close. As, again, we have The lead change for Alex Hoffman, Jordan Smith in second now. A good chance to look here at Luke Lafaro in that number 20, sitting in third position. Solid run for him, up 7 positions, same as Jordan Smith. He's been hanging solid in this top pack.
And it's fun to see what these guys are able to do as bear with me a second.
Gotcha. So you see Troy Torgerson coming out of pit lane right now. On the bottom of the screen there you see the drivers that are in pit lane, their abbreviation, the first three letters of their last name. The white time ticking down is total time in pit lane, as there goes the 25 of Alex Hoffman into pit road. Justin Winters following him into pit lane. So the pit cycle has well and truly started here.
This is where you've got to figure out what you're going to do. Are you taking 2? Are you taking 4? Is the guy that goes in pit with you, are they taking 2 or are they taking 4? Because the draft is all important here at Michigan. 2 miles around this place, around the inside line, and if you don't have some drafting help, you're going to get hung out to dry.
And you can see the difference in that 98, how he was able to just drive past those 3 guys on older tires, and the 24 of Jordan Smith is not going to be much of a fight. And just look at the speed difference through the center of the corner, especially. Torgerson back on the lead lap the hard way, and that should be a sign right there to this top 4. Bring it down, and bring it down now.
The 47's calling pit this time, so look for Tommy Cannon to take a pit side. Luckily for Hoffman, he was able to latch on to the tail end of those guys, and you can see what type of tow he's getting. And on the fresh tires, he's getting back on the lead lap the hard way, the easy way for him with, fresh tires.
Just amazing, those 3 guys before they even get to the center of the corner. And Jordan Smith is not going to be much of a contest either, as we've seen that work right there. A little bit of an undercut from the number 98 of Torgerson, and he's able to leapfrog the 25 who came into the pits in the lead.
Absolutely. As Torgerson, when this all cycles out, Torgerson should be up towards the front, but the 25 is reeling him in hand over fist right now, because he's within drafting range, because Torgerson is punching such a big hole in the air for him. These 2 guys are going to be best if they work together, and figure out, okay, if we can keep this thing green, which we all hope, they're going to be able to have something for these guys at the end.
There you see the 24. That is your current race leader now ducking onto pit road, as well as Eric Holly. So those 2, the last of the leaders of the lead group that we saw coming into pit road. Again, down there on the bottom, the white time that you see is their total time in pit road. The time in the brackets is the total time stopped in the box for those guys. And here is your effective race leader right now. Well, your current race leader right now, it's the number 1 of Chris Brown, and Roy Lehman's behind him in the number 74. Would have to assume these guys are going to be coming to pit road here momentarily.
You would think so, because everybody around them has called, and it looks like Brown's staying out.
And Lehman's does come in. It's the 29.
Ooh, that almost got ugly.
Well. Yeah, it certainly did. Is that 81 of Daniel Dill, who we're following right now. Got a little bit close on entry. Is this a battle for second at the moment? Boy, especially on a track with a narrow apron such as this. Number 1, it's incredibly easy to clip the racing surface coming back onto the track, and not only that, just to to get so close to that racing surface to possibly impede those drivers on track.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you dip 2 tires coming off of pit road, if you dip 2 tires above that apron line, that is a huge penalty. It's a 30-second hold in your box. They will black flag you and make you come back down pit road, hold you for 30 seconds, and then make you do it again. iRacing's not taking any chances because they definitely don't want some moments like we used to see back when I was still an active driver, where I jokingly refer to it as Kevin LePage was their spirit guide. And for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, you can YouTube it sometime.
Yep, it's just Kevin LePage, Talladega, that's all you need. As you see now, these two right here are the race leaders. Troy Torgerson in the number 98 and Alex Hoffman in the 25. These two have a 3-second lead over third place Ryan Jones. Behind him by about a second is Jordan Smith, who came in with the race lead. Luke LaFaro, who came in with Ryan Jones in fourth. And look at Robert Dudley, has made up a lot of ground on that pit cycle by pitting early. He's up to P6 right now.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Dudley only took 2. As we do have a battle for the lead, Huffman thrown to the inside on Torgerson, probably just to try to get some clean air to that car because he was sucked up pushing the hell out of Huffman. And Huffman was saying that he was starting to get some heat into it. He had to go because those two were working the draft as effectively as you possibly could.
And that is going to be key. Is Ryan Jones behind these guys by 2 seconds, as we will flip back over the gap. Completely forgot I left it on the best time up there on the top ticker. So Hoffman, go ahead.
I was going to say Torgerson, unfortunately, not able to get to the back bumper of Huffman to give him the push that he was getting. These guys are going to be careful because that second group, led by Ryan Jones, is starting to reel them in as Jones and Smith throwing hand grenades at each other.
Jordan Smith with the big dive going into turn 3. Luke LaFaro in the 20 comes and follows. This is a battle for the third position. Smith and LaFaro. LaFaro in the 20, the 91 of Jones trying to keep that fourth position right now, and unfortunately is not able to as they head off into the back straightaway, and these guys are now right up on the leaders. They've closed that gap big time over the last lap or so.
They have, and they are now within drafting range of the 98 of Torgerson, and these guys they're sitting ducks right now. Huffman's doing everything he can, and Torgerson's unfortunately just doesn't have the right set to be able to hang with him right now.
And that's boy, Torgerson, and that's
here we go.
Yep, there he goes. That's that double-edged sword. You pit earlier, you get that undercut, but you're also left on worse tires as the run goes on. And boy, Smith is going to take that run right to the race lead, 24, back to the point.
With the draft, he was able to get down the back straightaway off of Torgerson. He was 6 miles an hour faster than Huffman as they got to turn 3, as we are 3 wide for third place. It's LaFaro on the outside, Torgerson on the inside, and Jones up the middle.
Jones getting that third position back from those two, as Jones able to sit right back where he was, and you can see that 24 make a dive to the inside, as I believe there was a car down the inside. I believe that was Larry Poling.
That was the 69.
Yep, we're getting to it right now. Here at it's the Poling and the 4 collided. Oh, he took a big shot into the inside retaining wall, and this is right in front of the leaders. And again, after the updates that iRacing made, no caution for wrecks that are well off the racing surface. We stay green.
I mean, he tried to put his foot back into it and get back up to speed, but he has so much damage that car just does not want to turn right now. I dare say that the U.S. Army number 69 is done for the night. There's a ton of damage on that car.
And just look, and there's the 4 as well. That is the number 4 of Jeff Pogo. He was the other car involved in that incident. He's about to go a lap down to the 24 of Jordan Smith. And Smith, after getting the lead, look at the gap he has put on the rest of this group, something he was not able to do in the first section of the race. The caution is out.
Oh, good grief.
Looking back, we're seeing there's the 21 of Mike Mack, his front end all torn up. We're gonna get a look at this here as we're working. It's left 45 under our first caution of the race. Here's what happened to the 21 of Mike Mack.
And the 30 winner is just about done. He said he's got nothing.
30 caught a piece of that. The looked like the 41 caught a piece of that as well. There you see the 21. That is Mike Mack.
And how to turn a cup car into a pavement modified in one simple step.
That's the 101 handbook right there.
Absolutely. Not something you ever want to see. That brings out the first caution of the night, and he is definitely going a lap down if he's able to continue at all.
So we are just shy. Well, let's see what these leaders decide to do here, as they are going to bring it down pit road here. I would have to assume, again, with the tire situation being what it is, these guys only having 3 sets left now, this is going to be a fuel-only stop.
It's a crapshoot. I mean, if I was the crew chief,
big mistake for the 24, pulled into the wrong box.
That's not good.
Slowly backing up. He just now has gotten into his box. We just saw the whole thing right there.
And he is definitely taking tires.
Wow.
He took rights.
Yeah, that is surprising.
And he's going to lose a boatload of spots.
That's all that mistake, and he took quite some time to get back into his pit box. But as far as guys that did not pit, there is your leader right there, Roy Lehmans in the number 74, followed by Jamie Leach and Jared Hagerdorn in the number 2.
Here's the thing. If I'm Lehmans, I'm staying out, because even as this is the first race of the season, every point counts. You need to be thinking long game, and Jordan Smith has led laps. Ryan Jones has led laps. Alex Huffman has led laps. Torgerson led the first lap. So you've got to be thinking long game, and you've got to be thinking every point counts. So you've got to get that all-important bonus point whenever you can grab it.
So there you see the red number 2, that red Milwaukee number 2 of Jared Hagdorn. Again, we'll figure these names out. He is in 3rd place, the last car that did not pit under this caution flag. The 25, there you see him at the back. There he is right there. He is the first car to take tires, to come into pit at least under this caution flag. So some might have 2, some might have taken 4. Either way, these guys who did come into pit are going to be able to go a little bit longer than everybody else.
Absolutely, and this just in, Mike Mack has decided to put it on the hauler.
Not surprising after the hard hit that he took coming out of turn 4 a couple of laps ago. So again, it'll be Roy Lehmans and Jamie Leach for the first restart of Season 5 for the USRA. As Tony, why don't you lead them down again?
Well, as the field works its way into the 3-4 complex, Lehman's on old tires, Leach on old tires, and you've got Alex Huffman right there, who did take at least 2, I believe. So this is going to get exciting as they come out of turn number 4. Lehman's going to have the button as the pace car gets ready to pull on off. Pace car is in, and they enter the restart zone, and green flag in the air. We are back underway. Lehman's pulls the trigger. Leach not getting the restart he needed, and here comes Hagdorn to his inside as they work their way into turn number 1.
There you see is a great jump from Roy Lehman's on that restart, and that's the benefit. And we talk about it in pretty much every series. It is so hard as, boy, that 91 makes an aggressive move to the inside of that number 2. He's looking to break free before the 25 can to try to put as much gap between him and that 25 as he could.
He's working on it right now as we've got a battle for the lead already.
And Jamie Leach took to the lead. That 91 of Ryan Jones is there as well. Cars on the apron through this tri-oval. That's Robert Dudley who's down there. Give him room to come back up. They do. We're looking good.
Jones leading that lap, and we're still 4 wide with
Here
Dudley.
we are. It's the one car of Chris Brown stuck in the middle of this group, getting a little crazy, coming out of turn 2. He was able
You know what's exciting when I'm white-knuckling it and I'm not even on track?
This certainly has been a frantic restart, and with how spread out these guys got last time, is again Dudley on his way inside. They're 4 wide again.
Oh, Dudley's not afraid to put it down there, and
Clearly.
he's letting it all eat right now. Fresh tires for the 49, and he's making it work. And you look who he's next to. That's Alex Huffman, who has led laps as Dudley gets by him coming off of 2.
Big move from the inside to the outside, from the outside to the inside. Now back up to the outside for that man in the center of the screen there, the 02 of Clint Castleberry. He's made his way up. And not so long ago, we were talking about Jamie Leach being in the lead. He's on the outside right now with that's Eric Holly in the number 8 in the middle.
These guys are just flat getting it right now.
And with how frantic this restart was, do you think it's because they saw how spread out everybody got so quickly in the first run? Let's try to make up as much positions as we can to try to get into that higher group.
Well, the thing is it's part that, and it's also part you don't want anybody to be able to get away like they did in that initial green flag run that we saw. So Jones and LaFaro doing everything they can to work together right now as LaFaro throws it to the inside, down onto the apron, coming across the stripe, and give that lap to LaFaro. Again, all-important bonus point. These guys are trying to get him any way that they can, and we've seen speed out of LaFaro all night long.
Yeah,
and don't look now, but here comes Rhett Tucker, who started 31st.
Yep, Rhett Tucker in here as well. There's Dudley. We saw him making some moves on the inside. We were highlighting while you were talking there. That was the 24 of Jordan Smith in the middle of that beehive. It has since simmered down a little bit, but that could have been incredibly big. Also, Justin Winters in that group as well. They're still 3 wide behind these guys. Those are 2 guys that have been up at the front the entire race, right in the middle of a hornet's nest.
Absolutely. It's, Smith and Winters are able to clear the hornet's nest, but behind them, Cannon, Wolcott, Eaglin, and Lehman's, these guys are just, they're slugging it out, and you got to think that some of these guys aren't set up to handle the aero push as well as everybody else is. We saw what happened when Smith got into clean air. Lehman's the same thing, and some of these guys are dropping like stones.
And we've had another change. We saw it on screen there. That's Robert Dudley now in the 2nd position. Rhett Tucker still on the inside of Ryan Jones, fighting for 3rd. There's Eric Holly in the 8, running in 5th now. A couple of new faces here. Thomas Ogle in the 23. He's up here fighting up in this lead pack as well. this lead pack still consisting of about 12 cars. Some of these guys were not in this original front group that we had. Stephen Holmes in that number 9 bringing up the rear of this group.
That boils down to they weren't able to get the drafting help that they needed during qualifying. We're 3 wide for third.
Yep, that's Eric Holly on the inside, Rhett Tucker in the middle, and Ryan Jones on the outside lane, as now Dudley has been able to clear and set sail after Luke Lafaro for that race lead, and these guys are getting incredibly close coming out of turn 2. They're still right on each other. Oh, a big little chink from the 8.
There was Holly and Tucker getting into it going into 3. That luckily they both realized what was going on and backed out of it. You got to wonder what type of damage is on those 2 cars now, though, as Dudley's starting to reel in Lafaro and starting to gap Holly.
You could see how crazy this is getting right on off the back bumper of Eric Holly, side by side, 2 by 2, as far as the eye can see. There's the front bumper of Rhett Tucker as they head into turn 3. These guys are still getting after it here.
But the good part is no quarter asked for, no quarter given. They're racing hard, but they're racing cleanly. We're not seeing anybody make any crazy moves, but they're racing each other hard, but respectfully, and that's what you love to see.
And just for a moment here, let's take a listen to the throttle control here. From Eric Holly as he feathers his way through that corner. Turn 3, it's a little bit of a sharper entry here. Once again, the throttle control from Holly as he tries to chase. Big let off to get to the bottom, a little bit of a blip in the middle of the corner, but still that number 8 is rolling right now.
He's caught the draft of Robert Dudley and Luke Lafaro. Those 3 guys have about a 4-car length lead over Clint Castleberry. Now, Castleberry's on a move, too. He started 22nd. Rhett Tucker, unfortunately, has been caught up in that whole melee, and he went from 3rd. He's now sitting in 7th place that last time across the stripe in just a gaggle of cars right now and not able to make any headway as he's fighting with Tom Ogle in the 23.
There's also Troy Torgerson is up now in this group as well as a battle for
Dudley
second.
To the lead.
Dudley to the lead. And Holly was able to follow through. He wants the lead now as he goes to the outside to block up Luke Lafaro. Still hanging on that outside line. Again, the outside line, you're going to have that momentum of being able to wind it up and being able to pinch that car on the inside down as we're just past the halfway mark.
Yeah, fortunately, Robert Dudley is about to get freight trained as they go into turn number 3. He's about to lose 3 spots as Castleberry with a run on that second lane too. But you got to give Dudley credit, hanging tough on that second lane or in that inside lane. Finally drops in behind Holly as Holly to the point now, and Dudley is side by side with Lafaro for second.
First lap led for Eric Holly here tonight. Dudley and Lafaro side by side behind him. Also, Clint Castleberry up 18 positions. We saw him moving up during that first green flag run. He is right up here battling for a podium position. The 49 of Dudley now unable to hold on that inside line. He's got Thomas Ogle in that same line with him, but unfortunately he's not going to be able to help as now here comes Torgerson to the outside in turn 4.
Got to think that Dudley is starting to burn the goodie off the tires of that number 49 Mercury Outboards Toyota Camry.
He's starting to fall back just a little bit. It's not a dramatic drop, but it just goes to show how much being able to pinch that car on the inside line, and he finally gets in line. But now the 91 of Ryan Jones not having any of it, he goes right to the inside.
Absolutely. So we got a gaggle of 14 cars with half a straightaway lead right now between Doug Wolcott in the 72 and Dave Elin in the 6.
Yep, there's Wolcott at the back of this group in that Butterfingers number 72 Toyota. And then here's Dale Elam Jr. in the number 6. He has a 1.1 second gap back to this man in the 29. So we got a big pack of cars here at the front, a couple of stragglers, and then you saw in the background there this group here that the number 1 of Chris Brown is currently in the lead of.
And I want to touch real quick on Jared Hagdorn. He started outside row number 1, or no, row number 2, or inside row number 2 in the Milwaukee Tools number 2. He's dropped 25th already.
And look who else is back here. I just noticed as we came back, there is Alex Hoffman in the 25, one of the more dominant cars during that long first run, whether it's the tires or whether it's the fact that these cars just not hooking up right now, not set up for the aero push, as you mentioned before. He has fallen right on back to 21st position behind the 30 of Jeff Winter.
Here's the other thing to be mindful of is the track temperature has dropped 10 degrees since we started this thing, and the wind has picked up. It was at 3 miles an hour when we took the green. It's now at 6 miles an hour down the back straightaway.
And that's with the track temperature getting lower. That is going to tighten these cars up just a little bit. Track's not going to be as slick as it was earlier in the race. These guys do have to prepare for track changes like that. As you see it on the right-hand part of your screen, 106 the last time we checked it, 100 even right now.
As you take a look at Holly, he's starting to stretch his legs. Torgerson is starting to stretch his legs. LaFaro's still hanging in there. Castleberry's still hanging in there. And then you got a little bit of a gap. From Ogle in the 23, there's about a half a second back to Justin Winters in the 52, Jordan Smith in the 24.
There you see the gap there. Ryan Jones and Justin Winters, as you mentioned, those guys having a friendly little debate over who should take over the 7th position. Right now, Ryan Jones has won that debate, but for how long, as these guys now are starting to single file up to try to get back into this big group, as Clint Castleberry taking a look on Luke LaFaro in the 20, going into turn 1, not close enough to make the move, and you don't want to put yourself in a bad enough spot to where you're going to have to quickly turn that into a defense from Thomas Ogle.
Absolutely, because Ogle is all over his back spoiler right now, and Ogle looks to the inside, gets it pulled down the back straightaway, or got the shotgun out of the back straightaway, and he's looking to get a twofer.
Yeah, that's a big, it just goes to show how huge the draft is, and with the aero package of these race cars, how much of a run you can get with that draft, as he's still hanging to the inside of the number 20. The only way you're going to get him here now is if you can get the dive into 1. Could not. He might have, in an effort to gain 1 position, might have lost 2.
Make that 3. Because he's about to lose it to the 24 as well.
Justin Winters as well in the 51 behind him. Ryan Jones is at the back end of this group, and now he slots back in line where he was before he made the move in the, in the 5th position. Now going again on Castleberry, side by side at the line, and now the 24 are going to look to make it 3 wide in the middle, as they're battling for the lead, as well as Holly able to keep Torgerson at bay going into turn 1. But Torgerson has that outside line. Will he have the run? Let's just see the speed of Torgerson heading down the back straightaway as they head off into turn 3.
193 miles an hour before he hits the braking point. And you got to give the 24, Jordan Smith, credit. He saw the opening and saw it was closing and realized we're just barely past the halfway point and we still have a ton of laps left. As a matter of fact, 50 to go. So it's not desperation time yet. So backing off and discretion being a better part of valor.
Maybe not go time for him yet, but certainly for Ryan Jones, it is go time. He makes it 3 wide, and boy, LaFaro had a big moment coming out of turn 2. He's on the inside of 3 wide now, is able to hold his third position, but Ryan Jones, that aggression benefiting him, as in the matter of 1 lap, he goes from about 6th all the way up to 2nd.
Yeah, LaFaro had to chase it down the hill coming off of 2, and that goes back to what we were talking about. There is a bump there, and if you don't exit 2 just right, you're going to catch that bump, and you're chasing the car at that point. And great heads-up driving by everybody around him not to tag LaFaro and bring out that dreaded flag color that I'm not going to mention because I don't want to jinx anything.
I've already had one, so you can't really jinx too much of it. It's still the 91 and the 8.
I don't want to see another.
I don't want to see another one either. As Holly still able to hold on to that lead as he took a big dive going into 3, and that's going to hurt him on the exit of 4. Is now Ryan Jones able to get the crossover on him. The 91's going to have to make one heck of a dive going into turn 1. He does, clears him for the lead. And back up to the front here is Jordan Smith in the 24. So we talked a couple laps ago about the difference in philosophy and the difference in aggression between the 91 and 24. It took them the same amount of time to get to the exact same spot on the racetrack.
Absolutely, and the big question is who burned their tires off first, as we are closing in on lap times to go down pit road under green flag again.
We certainly are. We are within about 5 laps or so of seeing green flag pit stops commence once again, working lap 74 of 120. You see the 24 trying to work on Holly, and Holly slides, is able to save that car. What a save by the number 8 Ford of Eric Holly. Oh, he almost got spun again, that time by Thomas Ogle.
Wow.
How? Let's see if we can see this again here.
Oh, he chased it up the track coming off of 2, banged the wall, and Ogle really nowhere to go, jams on the binders. Everybody behind them, though, heads up driving to not bring out the big one, because that would have been about 14 cars in that one.
Let's see if we can find this one again here. Trying to see through, Hopefully this is it. Going into turn 1. Yep, there it is. See, he's already out of shape. And he's going to get tagged from behind here coming out of turn 2. Oh, he hit the wall and then got tagged from behind by the 23. So that was quite a moment for the driver of the number 8, Eric Holly. And now as we start to settle down here, he's found himself back in the 12th position after being in the lead just moments ago.
With a lot of damage on the right side of that car too. That basically just put a cap on his whole night. All he's hoping now for is to get as many points out of Michigan as he can, salvage as many positions as he can, but you're definitely not going to be competing for the win with that flat of a right side of that Cup car.
And Holmes and Cannon, the 9 of Holmes, the 47 of Cannon, had a moment there last lap coming through turns 1 and 2. Battle for the lead after that. Ryan Jones, Troy Torgerson, and Jordan Smith have now broken away. There you see these 3 as Jordan Smith now makes the pass to move back up into the 2nd position. About a 3/4 second gap back to Luke LaFaro. And boy, that's 16. That is Evan
Penna.
Thank you very much. Getting a little loose coming out of turn 2.
Yeah, Penna definitely had a wow moment there as he's battling with Rhett Tucker and Tom Ogle. These guys, they're turning the aggression level up now. I mean, we're inside 50 to go. Next stop is probably going to be the money stop. And, these guys know that they've got to be in position to be able to collect that paycheck at the end of the night.
Battle for the lead as Jordan Smith goes to the inside of Ryan Jones for that race lead. He has him, but he's not clear of Jones yet. Torgerson now to the inside, trying to push that 24 along. And that 91 is going to be fighting for everything he's worth, because last time Jordan Smith got out in clean air, he ran away from these guys.
Absolutely. The best thing that could happen right now, Torgerson has to remember that, and he should be working with Jones. As Jones throws it to the inside, gets the draft down the back straightaway, head of steam going into turn number 3, not going to be able to get the clear. He might lose another spot as Torgerson right there as well on that high line. Torgerson and Jones should be working together to hang Smith out to dry and do everything they can to make sure that he's behind them so that they can battle it out for the lead. But all these guys battling for the race lead has brought that second pack back to them.
Took the words right out of my mouth, as Luke Lafaro and Thomas Ogle have brought this second group back up to these guys. There you see the 20. That is Luke Lafaro right there in the center of the screen. Evan Pinta in the 16. On the outside lane, he's going to have that momentum. And by the way, there is the 13 on the inside lane. That is, Jamie Leach. He is one lap down at the moment, so he is not for position in that 13.
No, but I think he's already been pit side, and he's looking to get his lap back the hard way.
I believe he has as well, as we've had a couple of guys in the mid towards the back of the pack now come into the pits as we are working 40 laps to go, about to take 39 to go. So we are on the borderline of needing to go on one stop. Unfortunately, though, if you do want to try to make this a one-stop race from here, we're going to need a couple of cautions in order to help you save fuel.
Fortunately, yes. But, I'm looking at the difference in the lap times between the 13 of Leach and the 24 of Smith. You're talking 2 seconds. So, these guys that are able to get the undercut, they're trying to work this as best they can. And I almost got to agree with the pit strategy that Leach is using. Split the race up. It's like we talked earlier on. Split the race up as evenly as you can. And, damn the torpedoes, as looks like Robert Dudley heading pit side.
Yep, that is the number 49 of Robert Dudley as he lights the front tires up heading into pit road here. We'll turn that on. Get you your pit timer so you can see who is in the pits and for how long. That 49 also has some right rear damage there. As we see him making his stop, we'll get you back to the front of this field here as Jordan Smith is still up in front of this race. Question is, when will he be coming in?
Leach has gotten his lap back the hard way, but with the damage that Dudley's got, it doesn't surprise me with the melee that he was in most of that segment. 2 and 3 wide, you can't expect to run that hard that fast and not bend some sheet metal.
47 of Cannon in. Eric Holly is in as well in the number 8. We're 3 wide here in the middle of the pack. That's Justin Winters, who started outside front row in the middle as he now falls back. The 11 and the 3, the 47 as well. These guys have all come into pit on fresh tires, trying to work their way back up through the field, get their laps back the hard way, as here comes the 91. That is Ryan Jones going into pit road. He's also got the 20 with him. Here comes the 9, the 72 in as well.
Expect to see Jones come back in around lap 110 because he's probably going to go a splash and dash. And if we don't get a caution, I would expect him to take 4 now and not take them later. Just take the fuel and go.
Saw on the screen there coming through turn 2. That was the 00 of Rhett Tucker, who was way out of the racing line. As there you see the 6, that is the 69 on the inside lane there that these guys just passed. Second place leads another group of leaders down into pit road. That is Troy Torgerson up at the front of this group here, as Jordan Smith, once again, as he was the last time through, going to be one of the last of the leaders to pit.
I mean, you take a look at his last lap time. He was 39.8 because he's got some drafting help in front of him. He's not falling off like everybody else is. Everybody else, they're dropping almost 2 seconds a lap. And, with some drafting help, he's coming this time.
Yep, he is. And that's kind of what we expected. And also, he was one of those guys who had to fight his way from the back of the field all the way up. So you'd think a little bit of tire wear on that number 24 as my timing and scoring board as it tries to get set up is going absolutely mental here. There is the 81 of Daniel Dill coming into pit road. There's Jamie Leach right now. Jamie Leach is the first car on track that has made his pit stop already. He's got the number 4 behind him. That is Jeff Pogo in the 4. And the 91 of Ryan Jones behind him is the assumed race leader, as Jamie Leach has worked his strategy a treat. He's in the race lead right now.
Scored his 4 coming across the stripe, but he passed some cars going. They were coming out of the pits on the apron. But don't look now. He's got Ryan Jones all over him.
And not necessarily all over him anymore. Ryan Jones has gotten around the 13 like he was standing still. As again, we are looking at one more stop, Tony. I would have to assume just a splash and go if this thing stays green.
You're going to run this thing about as close to bingo as you can get to take as least amount of fuel as you can get to finish this thing. Whatever tires you've got on the car, apologize to them after the race, because what you have now is it.
Now, there are 2 separate ways of thinking about this. You've got, 33 laps left to go here in this race. You can do one of 2 strategies. You can do that strategy, which is run it as dry as you possibly can, or you can run the heck out of the car right now, pit with about 15 to 16 laps to go, put your last set of fresh tires on the car and let it hang loose, and then pass all of those guys that are coming in for their splash and go at the end of the race.
This is where your spotter comes in handy. Your spotter's got to be doing the work up on the spotter stand going, hey, if we pit on lap such and such, are you coming with us? Are you coming with us? Do you want to come with us? And find a group of 2 or 3 cars that you can work with well, so that the 3 of you can just draft the hell out of each other and make sure that you've got that help that you need to try to get back to the front if you do decide to take tires.
There's Robert Dudley in the 49. Once again, we've seen him all race long, not afraid to go 3 wide, doing it again. As there's the 13 of Jamie Leach, you see him falling by the wayside on that outside line. All of those are positions. The 4 right now of Jeff Pogo I'm seeing him as the last car on the lead. Now he's a lap down is what my timing scoring is showing now. So Pogo not for position in that number 4, but not seeing these guys as spread out on this set of green flag pit stops as we saw on the first set, as now we have a battle for the lead as the rest of the pack is converged on the 91 and the 20.
Absolutely, and don't look now, but here comes the 98 to the point, gets the draft down the back straightaway, drag race into turn number 3. That's Jones on the outside, Torgerson on the inside. It's going to be fun to see how this one plays out. Now, Torgerson has the clear as they're 3 wide behind him.
Yeah, they are, as we're riding on board with LaFaro right now. We're seeing exactly what he can see as he's got 3 wide
of cars
in front of him. Boy, oh boy, that's about as good a view as you want. He's in the middle of 3 wide now. It just goes
almost
to show
4 wide.
You cannot make one simple little mistake here, because that could prove to be about as damaging as it can get.
Absolutely. As Smith is about to get hung out to dry on that inside line, fresh tires or not, you can still carry more speed on that second and third lane. And to his credit, Smith is battling hard, but you got to think that he's burning the fresh tires that he just put on off that car very quickly.
He could be on that alternate strategy, as I mentioned, where you run about 15 to 16 qualifying style laps and then bring it in as Rhett Tucker goes to the race lead, and with a big slide, the 24 of Jordan Smith holds into second. Now he's going for the lead on that 00 of Rhett Tucker, and you can see Evan Pinta in the 16 on that inside line as well. He's making a move up into the top 5. Ryan Jones, though, not going to let him have it for long.
Smith has his foot through the floorboard right now, I can guarantee you, as Tucker right on him right now as they haul it off into turn number 1. Can Tucker get the clear before they come off a 2 drag race? And the answer is a definite maybe.
That's the 24 of Jordan Smith with that momentum on the outside line is going to be able to clear that 00 of Rhett Tucker. And now Troy Torgerson in that number 98, that red, white, and blue number 98 on that outside line, looking to take that second position away from Rhett Tucker. We've seen a lot of these guys battling up here all race long, but it's nice to see Pinta, who was stuck in that second group earlier. Stephen Holmes stuck in that second group earlier. These guys are right up here racing now, and Clint Castleberry trying to hold on in that 02.
Absolutely. You know, of all the races that we could have picked to start with a league, the Great Lakes Brewery 120 here at Michigan, I'm nothing short of impressed with this entire field right now.
Yeah, this is about as good as a start as you can get here to a season, not just a season, but to a broadcast partnership here on ESPN. We're so glad that you guys are here to join us tonight. We're so glad that the USRA has decided to become a partner here as well. And we'll also talk about another partner we have, Tony, the namesake of this race, the Great Lakes Brewing Company, as we got 25 laps to go. Tell us about some beer.
They were the first microbrewery in Cleveland, Ohio. They started in the Ohio City neighborhood near the west side, and you know they surrounded themselves with a staff of passionate, knowledgeable people from the start. And hats off to Pat and Dan Conway as they celebrate 3 decades of brewing exceptional beer for their adventurous and discerning customers. Feel free to check them out at the Great Lakes Brewery. www.greatlakesbrewing.com. greatlakesbrewing.com.
It's like 3 of those W's there.
I put 6 just because.
We've got 23 laps to go as Jordan Smith doing what we saw him do the last time out. Last time they had a second green flag run here. He's gotten out to the lead. He's starting to pull away. Not as quickly as he did last time, but he's up to a 7/10 lead right now, just pulling a repeat performance from earlier in the race.
I gotta think he's found something that the rest of these guys haven't. As the track temperature's fallen again, we're down now to 96 degrees, so a full 13-degree drop from the time that we started the event. You know, these cars have tightened up, and I'm thinking that he's maintained the adjustments that he's needed better than everybody else has.
And he has done a fantastic job. He's been a fixture up at the front, and really he has run an absolutely flawless race here tonight, other than the incident on pit road where he missed his pit box and then took quite some time to back up into his own pit box to be serviced. He has run a flawless race, and it's showing as he's up in the lead right now by a decent margin over Troy Torgerson in the number 98. You're watching the battle right now. This is for the 5th position. Luke LaFaro has that position. Evan Pinta wants it. Stephen Holmes is there as well. Justin Winters, Clint Castleberry in this group as well. So 5 cars battling over that 5th position, and then there's a 2.5 second gap back to this battle here between Tommy Cannon and Douglas Wolcott.
Those guys are kind of in an island all by themselves right now, but if you look behind them, there's a nice 4-car grouping that's Hoffman, Ogle, Dudley, and Holly. Hoffman, Ogle, and Dudley. Right behind them, they're battling out right now. But just battling all throughout the track right now. As far as guys that have figured out what they need to figure out. Again, first race, these guys are running with each other under anger. Everybody's playing nice so far, and I'm glad to see that.
This has been a great race, full of entertainment, as we would have expected coming out of Michigan. But next week is going to be an even bigger race, a better race, and it's our namesake race. We thank USRA for that. The ESPN 240 at Chicagoland. That is going to be a fun event next week, right here, same place, same time.
Absolutely. Anytime we go to Chicagoland, it's always a fun adventure. Usually turns into a fuel mileage race, too, because that's one of those deceptive 1.5 miles that it races like a bigger track than it is. And here we go, green flag pit stops starting again as we're hearing some guys start to call them already. And, that goes to the scheduling that you were talking about where, split the race up, or split the segment up as about as halfway that you can and, hope for the best.
Yep, Chase Barry in pit road, JP Fitzpatrick in pit road. You're watching Jeff Winter in the 30. He is coming out of pit road. That strategy that I was referring to, you would consider that more of a strategy for guys in the middle of the pack trying to make up places. But listen, if it's deployed properly, any strategy could be a race-winning strategy.
And the biggest thing to keep in mind is you've got to have help. And right now it looks like Jordan Smith doesn't have any. Torgerson, Tucker, and Jones working together, and they've got the lap car. That's the 41. Where are we? Bear with me, folks. That's Aaron Diefler in between them. And he's kind of off the pace, and you got cars coming out of the pit, so you got to be mindful of that. Cold tires are the last thing you want, and definitely dirty tires are going to be the bane of existence for a lot of these guys trying to get back up to speed.
Yep, and also lappers are starting to play a factor, whether lappers on old tires like the 41 or lappers on new tires such as the 36. On the inside lane, that is Brandon Regal in the 36. Old retro, could that possibly be a Ralph Earnhardt throwback?
That's a good possibility. I haven't had a close look at that car yet tonight.
It's obviously more, clearly more modern and updated sponsorship.
Which car?
The 36 that we're seeing here battling the second, third, and fourth place drivers.
I dare say yes, but it's kind of based on there is a series on the Peacock channel, which is a streaming service called Lost Speedways, where they find NASCAR tracks that once existed, have been on the schedule at one point or another, and just disappeared from the face of the earth. So hats off to the guys that painted that car, because beautiful looking ride tonight.
And as I mentioned, these lap cars are going to be playing a part in this race. They have allowed that second group of Torgerson, Tucker, and Jones to get up to the 24 of Jordan Smith, close that 3/4 second gap, and now it is a four-way battle for the lead as we cross the line here with 14 laps to go. Jordan Smith is going to have a fight, and remember, we have a splash and go pit stop getting set to come up here, and depending upon when you decide to make that splash and go pit stop could determine whether or not you win or lose this race.
Absolutely, and so far it's hard to bet against Jordan Smith, but I can't help but think what would have happened if Rhett Tucker would have been able to get in with one of those big qualifying groups and gotten the drafting help that he needed instead of starting 31st.
up into third position, plus 28 from where he started. An absolutely fantastic run from Rhett Tucker. And if you're unfamiliar with the way ESPN works, it'll be the top three we'll be talking to come the end of this race, as the 24 of Jordan Smith, now that they've gotten some clean air, starting to pull away yet again from the 98, creating that little bit of a gap. That could be the difference, making that splash and go stop at the end.
I think we were talking about earlier, when you get him into dirty air, that car's not handling the way that he wants it to. You get him into clean air, and Katie barred the door.
Ryan Jones makes a pass on Rhett Tucker for third position. Tucker not going to let it go that easily on the inside line. Again, all of this fighting, though, we saw it happen earlier in the race with the front two. Now it's for third and fourth, letting this next group, led by Luke Lafaro, back into this race. As there you see the 13. He is a lap down. That's Jamie Leach, trying to work his way back up, and we do have a caution out. Well, there goes your strategy.
All the strategies out the window. You're going to take four Mr. Feelgoods and you're going to take four Mr. Feelgoods, put them on the car, pack it full of fuel, and call it good. That was the 99 getting it all wrong coming through the tri-oval. Jason Young.
That is Jason.
And it looks like he had he did have a ton of help. 31, and he had a meeting of the minds in basic physics. Two solid objects can't occupy the same portion of the space-time continuum at the same moment in time.
We're going to try to, hopefully, I'm going to click this button, and hopefully it takes us to the incident between the 99 of Jason Young, and oh, there they go. Caught it in the middle of it, but yep, there they are. Not too bad, as they were able to keep it going straight. Oh boy, that was right in front of the leaders as well.
Yeah, but Young almost went over on his lid. That's about as close to a blowover as you're going to find, and still be able to keep it on all fours.
There you see, as you had predicted, Tony, wholesale pit stops coming up here. This is the money stop, and that 24, you just saw it, took a big slide into his box, nailed it perfectly this time.
Yeah, he hit his marks, though. You got to give him credit. He rebounded great after the last caution that we had. Only 2 cautions tonight so far. Knock wood. And he is going to win the battle off pit road. So 4 tires and a can of Go Fast for Jordan Smith. And it looks like he's going to have the button when we go back to green. So does anybody have anything for him?
We're highlighting Rhett Tucker now. And this does confuse me, unless this is a timing glitch on our end. It's showing that Tucker only had an 8.3 second pit stop, which would tell me 2 tires. However, he came in 4th and comes out in 4th, so I would have to assume that's a little misleading.
I've got him. Well, yeah, we're going to have to see what's going to happen there, because my timing and scoring isn't caught up yet.
It is misleading, because it shows him at 13.18 seconds total time in pit lane. So yes, that would be wrong. He took 4 tires.
I'm showing him in 17th. But we're about to see as they come across the stripe now, because there were a bunch of cars that stayed out to try to get a lap back.
So see the 36 right up at the top corner of your screen there, coming into pit lane right now, as we're only going to have about a handful of laps to go when we call to the end of this race. So as we take a look high above Michigan, and pace car will be in this time by. And Tony, this will leave us with what, 9 laps to go, a 9-lap shootout?
Absolutely, as it's far from over. Um, but if you take a look, Torgerson needs to get the restart of his career. Jones needs to go the second Smith twitches. And unfortunately, Rhett Tucker is probably going to get hung out to dry on that high line, as is Torgerson. Torgerson's got to anticipate because that outside front row starting spot is the worst place to try to restart a race from, only because you can't really see what's going on. And if you look to your right, or sorry, look to your left to see where the pulse or the guy who's got the button is, you can't see where you're going, and chances are you're going to put the tires in dirty track.
And you could see from that blimp view on the apron and on the outside line how much dirty track there is around here right now. A big start from the 24, and we are racing once again here at Michigan. We have 8 laps to go, and we saw how crazy and hectic that last restart was. This time it's for the win.
Absolutely, as Smith out to a 3-car length lead. Torgerson getting a decent restart. Jones battling for his life right now with Rhett Tucker on his outside. Jones did not get the restart he absolutely needed. And here comes Torgerson to the inside in front of Jones.
Yep, Torgerson on the inside lane. There's Rhett Tucker on that outside. Not as crazy and as hectic as we thought, comparing it to the last restart, but they're side by side now battling for the second position. A little bit of a gap has formed between 12th and 13th. That's Ogle and Dudley in those 2 positions. But really, there is no separation between the top 18 drivers here.
Torgerson had a run going into 1. He had a good shove. It was able to get the lead, but coming off a 2, Smith just too strong. It doesn't have the clear yet coming off a 4. Drag race to the line side by side with Torgerson. We are going to be 6 to go this time across the stripe.
And caution has come out here with 6 laps to go. That appears to be the 40s. We're seeing the 71 up there with some damage.
Dudley got into it with a 47.
It's David Carpenter. Here's the 47 of Tommy Cannon. Try to find the 49 of Dudley. There he is. As we will now try to see what we can see here on this replay. And oh, there's the 47, just came up a little too close. And there's the spin out.
And there's a lot of damage on the 49 right now, so Dudley's going to be swinging for the fences, but take a look at who's leading this piece.
Yep, as Troy Torgerson, who was on the outside lane at the last restart, will now have the button, as you say, for this one. This could be, we've seen it too many times here, especially recently on ESPN. This could be the difference between race win and not.
Absolutely, and you got to think that Ryan Jones has got a reprieve. He's got one more shot at getting a decent restart. But how about Evan Pinta? He was pushing the daylights out of Tucker there for a while, and trying to make his presence felt, sitting in the number 5 slot.
He has done an absolutely fantastic job here today. One of those guys that's been hanging around the mid-pack, and now he's the second half of this race has really come up towards the front and proven to be a contender. Has that 16 of Evan Pinta, and it's been an absolutely fantastic show that not only he, but the rest of this series has put on here tonight in its debut here on ESPN.
Absolutely. And for those of you watching, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, favorite, subscribe, share, tell all your friends about it, because we will be back here next week. We will be broadcasting the entire season. And don't forget to turn on bell notifications on the YouTube side of things, because you won't want to miss a single broadcast that we have here on ESPN coming up. And if you're in one of the live chats right now, go ahead and let us know who you pulling for, who you got, who's your money on. I did see that there's a couple people pulling for Rhett Tucker right now. He's got a good shot at it, and this race is far from over.
Yep, Rhett Tucker will restart in the third position here for what we would hope to be the final restart. We are just outside of green-white checker territory. As you see on the bottom of your screen there, the pace car is going to be in this lap. And we're essentially going to have a green-white checkered here without actually having a green-white checkered.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be 3 to go when we get to the stripe. Torgerson, he's got to sucker Smith and hope that Tucker goes with him and hope that Jones hangs him out to dry, because if Smith gets into clean air, forget about it. Write the check.
And it's always fun. You see it all the time. You see it happen all over and over and over again, where a 120-lap race is going to come down to essentially a qualifying session down here for the final 3 laps. And Tony, would love for you to get this final restart going.
All right, so Torgerson and Smith going to start up on the front row. Smith going to have the disadvantage this time because he does not have control of the field. As soon as the pace car leaves the racing service, Torgerson can go anytime he chooses between the time the pace car leaves and the time the green flag comes out, and then everybody else is going to be playing catch-up. If you're Rhett Tucker, as soon as Torgerson twitches, you're going. If you're Ryan Jones, as soon as he twitches, you're going, because you can see him. Jordan Smith can't see him. Pace car's in. Here we go. One final time around for Michigan. Torgerson wastes no time, pulls the trigger, and brings Tucker with him. Tucker side by side with Smith for second place as they haul it off into turn number 1.
3 laps to go as Torgerson has the lead going into turn 1. Rhett Tucker and Jordan Smith side by side. Not much quarter given between those two, but look, that's allowed Ryan Jones in the 91, allowed to make it 3 wide going into turn 3. Trying to get that second position. He might have a run on the 98 going into the quarter. He does, is not able to hold on. Still 3 wide in about 2 lanes.
He was flirting with disaster. He caught the apron going into turn 3. How he saved that, I have no idea. As right now, Jordan Smith right now pushing the daylights out of Torgerson, wanting it to come down just between the two of them so he can try to get into some clean air. And from the looks of it, Torgerson's got to be driving as much out of the front windshield as he is in his rearview mirror to try to keep Smith behind him. As we are 2 to go, Popsicle sticks have been in the air. They're going to see the white flag this time by, and it's going to be 2 miles to get it done. Can Torgerson hang on?
It's going to be a big fight here as you see the cars starting to fan out coming out of turn 4. There you see the battle for the lead as that 24 is right on the back end of the 98 of Torgerson. Look at the 91. Here comes Ryan Jones to the inside looking to get the last of the podium positions. He is on the inside of Rhett Tucker. Is going to have a nice little run coming down the back. That was the 1 of Chris Brown making a move in the background. Here comes the race for the lead as Jordan Smith.
He moved him.
There goes Tucker spinning. It's going to be a 2-car race. Jordan Smith trying to block off Torgerson for everything he's worth. Coming to the line, it will be Jordan Smith winning the Great Lakes Brewing Company 250 to open up Season 5 of United Sim Racing Association.
Wow. What a final set of corners.
And we will go back and look at that incident there here just momentarily as we take a second to kind of catch our breath from that final lap. As there is your race winner, Jordan Smith, taking the first race win of the season. And in all honesty, he was the guy to beat all night long and proved it right there.
Absolutely. But how about the driving from Dan Dill? in the 81 to come home on the podium. He was out of this thing going into turn 3. He was in 23rd position going into turn 3 and came home on the podium after that melee.
We'll try to see what happened here. We might come into it. We might get into the wreck a little bit early here. There they go. Oh, yeah, we are in a little early. So we'll try to get you a better view of what happened here on this last lap, because it was absolutely insane as to what happened. We're going to try to follow the 00 here, if I can find him as quickly as I can. There we go. And boy, oh boy, that was a ride that the 20 took as well. And you can see them just continuing to crash well after the race had ended. So there you see, up at the start-finish line, the top 3 finishers: Jordan Smith, Troy Torgerson, and Daniel Dill, your top 3. And Tony, once we get a second here, I believe we are going to try to get Jordan Smith.
Be right back.
Yep, we're going to. Yeah, so we're trying to work on getting these drivers in here for these interviews. So we will be hearing from Jordan Smith. We will be hearing from Troy Torgerson, and we'll also be hearing from Daniel Dill here coming up momentarily. As, boy, oh boy, you could not have asked for a better debut race on the channel. We know, again, this is season 5 for these guys, but debut here, it has been an absolutely incredible ride that this race has taken. As we're still waiting on the top 3 finishers here. As Tony's trying to work his way through to get those guys. As I believe they are here now, and we'll try to get Jordan Smith in here right now.
Yeah.
And Jordan Smith, I believe Tony is with Jordan Smith right now.
Jordan Smith, as soon as you got into clean air, you had the car to beat. And if you could unmute your mic for me, bud, that would be awesome. Hello, Jordan. There we go. Now we have Jordan Smith. Jordan Smith, you had the car to beat as soon as you got into clean air. And sir, it just hats off to you. You didn't put a wheel wrong except for that first yellow flag pit stop all night long.
I know that really whenever I got into the pits, I was kind of really mad at myself. So really just kind of trying to recover from that and hoping that we can get it all straight and narrow.
Well, just talk us through what happened when you had to battle your way back through traffic. How bad was the aero push for you?
Well, really, it wasn't too terribly because I had those nice four Goodyear tires. So really, I could just hook it on the bottom and I would be fine working my way up. But really, the push didn't get too bad until about 18 laps in or so, and then you'd really have to start watching your throttle.
Now, coming to the checkered flag, did you happen to catch any of the melee that took place behind you?
To be completely honest, I had no eyes on the rearview mirror. I was so focused on Troy. Hats off to him for racing me clean. Either one of us really could have won that. It really just came down to to blocking and drafting.
Well, you two seem to work together. As soon as that last green flag came out, you looked like you were pushing the absolute daylights out of him to try to get a gap between yourself and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, I knew that if I was racing somebody, I would have no chance. I really had to kind of push him away. And I didn't want anybody to get on the outside lane, because the outside lane is really how you pass at Michigan with these cars. So just trying to block that and then push him as hard as I could.
Well, moving forward, we go from the house that Penske built to Chicagoland Speedway next week. Your thoughts going from the 2-miler here to the 1.5 there?
I love Chicagoland and just being able to kind of pick your lines. I think that's really cool dynamic, and I'm really looking forward to it.
All right. Well, anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
Of course, I got to start off by thanking Eric and Jeff. They put on a great league every year. I think this is like the 6th season, so really hats off to them. They do it every year, so on and so forth. I got to thank my quote-unquote teammate, Jason Young, kind of helping me, motivating me. And as always, got to thank the girlfriend at home.
All right. Well, Jordan, congratulations on winning the opener here at Michigan. Looking forward to seeing you next week in Chicago.
Thank you. Y'all have a good night.
That was your race winner, Jordan Smith. And right now, we're going to be joined by the second place finisher here tonight, Troy Torgerson. I'm saying your name right, yes?
Yes, sir. That sounds good, man.
All right, that works. All right, you had the lead on that final restart going into 3. However, Smith was able to put the move on you. Unfortunately, weren't able to get it done. How close was it those last couple laps?
Really close, man. When you get something like that, everybody had the same amount of tires, and you can run it wide open like that. He got a run off me there, and I was gonna go. I was sleeping coming out of 2 a little bit. Like I said, he got a run on me, and probably would have been some contact if I would have tried to go down, and rather finish a clean race than I guess they were wrecking coming out of 4 behind us. But yeah, had a really good time racing Jordan tonight, man. We spent most of the day with him, and brought the SimLab Ford Mustang home in second today.
How was the car handling in the pack? We know it's aero push here with this package is not necessarily easy to handle. Over the course of the race, the track temperature dropped about 15 degrees, really tightening the cars up. How was it getting through traffic here tonight?
Well, on newer tires, it was a little easier to pass, obviously, because you could run both grooves. But yeah, when you got behind somebody, I didn't really push a lot of issues tonight. My first race here. I'm glad to be here at USRA. Didn't really push stuff, but when came time to go, man, I found myself in a great spot there. Too bad the caution came out. Had the lead when it came out, and I was happy with my position, with the way the tires were worn at that time, and it's just unfortunate that one came out with like 10 to go.
And we head from the big wide track here at Michigan to another fairly wide track, but considerably shorter at Chicagoland next week. What are your feelings going into Joliet, Illinois next week?
I love the place, man. I love Chicagoland. I tend to run pretty good there. I don't want to jinx myself or knock on wood or knock on the front of the car here, but yeah, really looking forward to it.
All right, anybody you want to thank before we let you go celebrate?
I think Magic Mike's paint shop. Check him out on Facebook. He's the one that put the paint on the car for this league. Ford SimLabs is on the car for this league. Just really happy to be here, man. A lot of fast guys here. Thanks for the broadcast, you and Tony and Frank. Appreciate you taking the time to do that and put us out there to the world, man.
It was absolutely, especially with the race here tonight, it was absolutely our pleasure. Your second place finisher tonight, Troy Torgerson. Congratulations, bud.
Guys.
All right, so there was your second place finisher here tonight. And now we head over to the last spot on the podium, a surprise final spot on the podium, the number 81 of Daniel Dill, and Tony has him.
Dill, you were 30th going into turn 3 on the final lap. Coming home on the podium, what was going through your mind as you were picking your way through the carnage that was the final lap here at Michigan?
Well, generally speaking, any race we run, you try to lift whenever people get sideways, whatever. But once a white flag comes out, everybody's just going to race back to the checkered. So we knew I was going to have to do team no lift and just weed my way through it, and that's what I did. I tried to give everybody enough room. Didn't make contact with anybody, just got through it and got up to third. Was rather shocked at that.
You raced a heavily damaged Chris Brown to the line, just clipping him at the line. Did you think you had a chance when you saw all the melee going on? Did you think you had a chance at being on the podium here at Michigan?
No, to be honest, I was completely content with where I was. I figured I kind of made my bed earlier in the race. I was trying for tire strategy. I ended up finishing with an extra set still on the wall. But yeah, I was going for that. That caution that came out with 20 to go kind of messed me up because I could make it the rest of the way on fuel. So could Chris. And we were probably just 2 out of 5 cars that were going to be able to run as hard as we could the rest of the race and still make it. So I figured I was where I was going to be.
My father used to say whenever we'd go golfing, I'd rather be lucky than good any day, and the luck was definitely on your side here in the Irish Hills of Michigan today.
Yeah, definitely lucky. I try to do strategy as much as possible. It seems to work out decently for me from time to time.
Switching gears, though, we go from the 2-miler here to the 1.5 next week that is Chicagoland Speedway. Your thoughts going to that facility next week?
Same thing. I mean, it's just got to be all about, taking care of your tires, not having a long run car. Because, with this many cars on the track, to see us have the long green flags is a great thing. And so just take care of your tires. That way you're good for the long run and be there at the end.
Absolutely. Well, Dan, again, congratulations on grabbing the podium here in the first race of the season at Michigan. Anybody you want to thank before we let you go?
First of all, I want to thank my wife and my kids for allowing me the time to do this. I want to thank my sponsors, Ballman Oil, VP Race Gas, and thank you guys there at ESPN for broadcasting it, and Jeff and Eric for doing such a great job as admins.
Well, Dan, we're looking forward to seeing you next week at Chicago. Hopefully you can continue the momentum you got here tonight from Michigan.
Thank you very much.
So there was your third place finisher, Daniel Dill. And just as Tony mentioned here, we're going to go back and take a look at that last corner for Daniel Dill. We're going to ride on board with him and see what he saw coming through this final corner here. Look at the mess of cars that he has to work his way through. Puts it on the apron, and just the C's part for him. Almost had the 16 come up through him and had the momentum. Ends up passing the one through the grass. An incredible final lap from the number 81.
Absolutely. I mean, that's driving at its best. That's really what sim racing is all about, is making sure that you can keep your car clean even when everything around you is going right to pot. There were so many cars that had a chance at a podium finish tonight that unfortunately got caught up in someone else's dumpster fire, that they didn't have the finishes they were hoping for in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, and there were a lot of guys that were in the front of the field all night long that were involved in that. The 91 was in it. The 20 we saw earlier was a big casualty in that wreck. The 25 as well, which was up at the front a lot of the first half of the race, not so much in the second half. He was a part of that melee. as well. And before we go to the results here, Tony, could you have asked for a better debut race here on ESPN?
Absolutely not. And you know, I definitely want to give a big thank you to the guys over at Great Lakes Brewing, or Brewing Company in Cleveland, Ohio, for putting up the the race sponsorship tonight. I hope we did you guys proud over there, and the finish that these guys just put on. You expect a wild finish whenever you come to a big track here like Michigan, where you give and take early on, but when it's go time and coming to the checker, it's go time, and all bets are off, and you don't have any friends on the track at that point.
Yeah, and those guys certainly took the gloves off, and I am done teasing now. We go to the results here for the first race of Season 5 for the USRA Cup Series season. Jordan Smith takes the race win here tonight. Troy Torgerson, Daniel Dill, the podium finishers, we heard from them. Chris Brown coming home in 4th place. Thomas Ogle in 5th. Tommy Cannon 6th. Jamie Leach 7th. Dale Elan Jr. in 8th. Evan Pinta coming home in 9th. Robert Dudley rounding out the top 10 finishers. Jared Hagedorn, again, we'll figure these names out. Roy Lehmans in 12th. Douglas Wolcott coming home in 13th. Eric Holly coming home in 14th. Jeff Pogo 15th. Jeff Chandler 16th. Jeff Winter 17th. And Jonathan Leach rounding out the top 18, Tony.
Jeff Winter's coming home in 17th. 18th was John Leach. 19th going to David Carpenter. Luke LaFaro in 20th. Ryan Jones, not the finish he was hoping for. Had a chance for a podium. Unfortunately, got caught up in that melee, able to rebound for 21st. Steve Holmes in 22nd. 23rd going to Justin Winters. Rhett Tucker had to tow it, finishing the first car one lap down in 24th. A lot of cars getting caught up in that melee. Alex Huffman being one of them in 25th. Clint Castleberry 26th. Randy Betchel in 27th. J.P. Fitzpatrick in 28th. 29th going to Cody Levitt. Chase Berry in 30th. 31st going to Dustin Scruggs. Aaron Diefler in 32nd. Brandon Regal in 33rd. 34th to Jason Young. Larry Poling in 35th, and Mike Mock, who brought out the first caution, nosing it into the wall, the first one to put it on the hauler, in 36th position.
And I believe for Mike Mock, the only retirement of the race as well. So that will do it for us here after an incredibly fun night here for the USRA on their debut. Tomorrow night, it'll be Sam Cooper Bennett and myself in the booth for the iRacing East Super Speedway Series, the Xfinity cars at Daytona for 90 laps, their last race before the playoffs. So that is a race you're not going to want to miss. On Saturday afternoon, it will be the eFormula 3.5 Series, their Season 2 season opener at Monza. On Sunday, we have the season finale for the Dirt Championship eSports series, which Tony and Kevin will be running. That's a 50-lapper at Eldora to round out their season. Also, a little bit after that begins will be, I believe it's round 8 for the MPI Cup Series with Sam Cooper Bennett and myself.
Yes, sir.
So that will round out the rest of the week of scheduling. Next week here, same time, same place. It will be at Chicagoland Speedway for round number 2 of the USRA Cup Series season. We thank you so much for joining us here tonight for the debut of this new league on the network. For my broadcast partner, Tony Trapasso, I'm Frank Marchese. Thank you very much for joining, and we will see you all next week right here on ESPN.